There is a moment in every life when something shifts, quietly, almost imperceptibly, and yet it changes everything. Not because the world outside has suddenly transformed, but because something within you has reached a point of readiness. You may have been asking for answers for days, months, even years, wondering why nothing seems to respond. But the truth is, life does not move according to your urgency. It responds to your alignment. And alignment is not forced, it is realized. You see, the sign you've been waiting for does not appear the moment you demand it. It appears the moment you are able to receive it. There is a difference. Wanting is often filled with tension, with doubt, with the silent fear that what you desire may never come. But readiness carries a different quality. It is calm, it is open, it is certain without needing proof. When you are ready, you are no longer chasing the answer. You have created the space for it to arrive. Think of how many times you searched desperately for clarity, only to find nothing but silence. And then, when you least expected it, when your grip loosened, when your mind softened, that one idea, that one moment, that one realization appeared as if it had always been there. That was not coincidence. That was alignment meeting awareness. What you call a sign is not something sent to you randomly. It is something revealed to you when you are in the state that can recognize it. The same opportunity, the same message, the same moment could have existed around you long before you ever noticed it. But you were not yet the person who could see it. And so life waited, not to deny you, but to prepare you. There is a profound intelligence in this. Nothing arrives too early, because if it did, you would misunderstand it. You would doubt it, question it, or perhaps even reject it entirely. And nothing arrives too late, because the moment you are truly ready, it becomes impossible to miss. It meets you exactly where you stand, as though it had been following you all along. So when you begin to feel that quiet stirring within, the sense that something is changing, that you are seeing things differently, that is your signal. Not that something is coming, but that something is already here. The sign is not on its way, it is present, waiting for your awareness to catch up with it. And this is why timing feels so mysterious to many. They believe life is withholding, delaying, testing them. But life is not working against you. It is working with the version of you that you embody. As you change, what you are able to perceive changes. What once seemed invisible becomes undeniable. What once felt distant suddenly feels within reach. So do not measure your journey by how quickly things appear. Measure it by how deeply you are able to see. Because the clearer your inner world becomes, the more effortlessly the outer world begins to reflect it back to you. The sign is not late. It is not missing. It has simply been waiting for you to become the one who can finally recognize it, and the moment you do, you will realize it was always there. And yet, even when everything is in place, even when the moment has arrived and the sign stands quietly before you, it is often missed, not because it is hidden, but because you are searching too intensely to see it. There is a certain strain in the mind that believes the answer must come in a grand, unmistakable form. Something dramatic, something undeniable, something that forces you to stop and say, this is it. But life rarely speaks in such loud declarations. It speaks in whispers, in subtle shifts, in the smallest of realizations that pass through your awareness like a gentle breeze. When you are trying too hard, your attention narrows. You begin to filter reality through expectation, looking only for what matches the image you have already created in your mind. And in doing so, you overlook what is actually there. You dismiss simple moments, quiet intuitions, fleeting thoughts, because they do not fit the idea of what you believe a sign should be. But the truth is, the more you define how the answer must appear, the less likely you are to recognize it when it does. There is a kind of effort that closes perception, it creates tension, and that tension distorts your awareness. You begin to analyze everything, question everything, doubt everything, and in that state, even the clearest guidance can feel uncertain. Not because it is unclear, but because your mind is too occupied to receive it. You are not seeing reality, you are wrestling with it. But the moment you release that strain, something remarkable happens. Your awareness expands. You begin to notice what was always present but never acknowledged. A passing comment, a repeated idea, a feeling that lingers just a little longer than usual. These are the ways life speaks, not in overwhelming force, but in quiet consistency. Consider how often clarity comes when you are no longer searching for it. When you step away, when you become still, when you allow your mind to settle, suddenly the answer appears. Not as something new, but as something obvious. You wonder how you could have missed it, how it could have been there all along without your awareness catching it. But it was not the absence of the sign that delayed you. It was the intensity of your search. Presence is the key that unlocks perception. When you are fully here, not lost in expectation or fear, you begin to see life as it is rather than as you think it should be. And in that state, the smallest details carry meaning. The most ordinary moments reveal something extraordinary. You realize that guidance does not need to shout to be heard. It only needs a quiet mind to receive it. So instead of asking, "Where is the sign?" begin to ask, "Am I available to see it?" Because what you are looking for is not hidden from you. It is simply waiting for your attention to soften, for your awareness to open, for you to step out of the noise you have created within yourself. And when you do, you will find that what once felt distant and unclear becomes immediate and undeniable. Not because it changed, but because you did. The sign was never trying to reach you through force. It was always there, gently present, waiting for the moment you stopped searching long enough to finally see it. What you begin to realize as your awareness deepens is that the sign itself is not separate from you. It is not something placed outside of you, waiting to be discovered like an object in the world. It is shaped, revealed, and even interpreted through the state you occupy within. In other words, you do not simply observe reality, you participate in it, and the quality of that participation determines what becomes visible to you. Two individuals can stand in the same moment, in the same environment, exposed to the same sequence of events, and yet walk away with entirely different conclusions. One sees confirmation, clarity, direction. The other sees confusion, doubt, and uncertainty. The difference is not in the world they are observing, it is in the state they are embodying. Your inner condition acts as a lens, filtering, highlighting, and even distorting what you perceive to be real. If your mind is restless, filled with fear or urgency, you will interpret everything through that tension. Even a clear opportunity may feel uncertain. Even a gentle nudge may feel insignificant. You will question it, analyze it, and ultimately doubt it, not because it lacks meaning, but because your state does not allow you to trust what you see. In that condition, signs feel inconsistent, unreliable, or entirely absent. But when your inner world becomes still, when there is a quiet confidence within you, something shifts. You begin to notice a different pattern in your experience. What once seemed random now feels connected. What once felt unclear now carries a sense of direction. It is not that life suddenly began sending you better signs. It is that you have become capable of recognizing what was always there. This is why the search for signs outside of yourself can be misleading. If you believe the answer exists independently of your state, you will continue to chase it endlessly, hoping to find something that feels certain enough to override your doubt. But certainty does not come from what you see, it comes from how you see it. The same moment viewed from a place of fear will feel like hesitation. Viewed from a place of trust, it will feel like guidance. So the question is not whether signs exist. They are everywhere, woven into the fabric of your experience. The real question is, what version of yourself is interpreting them? Because that version determines everything. It decides whether you recognize meaning or overlook it, whether you feel guided or lost, whether you trust the moment or resist it. You are not waiting for life to become clearer. You are allowing yourself to become clearer. And as that clarity grows within you, the world begins to mirror it back in ways that feel almost effortless. What once required effort to understand now feels obvious. What once felt hidden now feels undeniable. And this is the quiet truth that changes everything. The sign is not trying to reach you from the outside. It is being revealed through you, shaped by the state you choose to embody. Change the state and the meaning of everything around you changes with it. You are not just noticing the sign, you are becoming the one who can finally see it. And then there are those moments that refuse to be ignored. Not because they are loud, but because they return again and again until they quietly insist on your attention. You encounter the same idea in different forms, hear the same message from different voices, find yourself in similar situations that seem to echo one another. At first it feels coincidental. You brush it aside, telling yourself it's nothing, but it happens again, and then again, and with each repetition, something within you begins to stir, as if reality itself is gently tapping on your awareness, asking you to look more closely. Repetition is not random. It is deliberate in its persistence. When a message is not recognized the first time, it does not disappear, it returns, often in a slightly different form, waiting for the moment you are ready to see it clearly. Life does not overwhelm you with force, it persuades you through pattern. It places the same truth in your path from different angles, hoping that one of them will align with your awareness. But the mind is quick to dismiss what it does not immediately understand. It calls it coincidence, chance, or imagination. It reduces meaningful patterns to ordinary events, not because they lack significance, but because accepting them would require a shift in perception. And that shift is often resisted. It asks you to pause, to reflect, to consider that something deeper is unfolding beneath the surface of what appears to be random. Consider how often you have ignored something subtle, only to find it returning in a more noticeable way. What begins as a quiet thought becomes a recurring idea. What starts as a small feeling becomes an undeniable pull. What you once overlooked begins to appear in conversations, in experiences, in unexpected places. This is not repetition without purpose. It is guidance that adapts to your level of awareness. Each recurrence carries the same essence, but with increasing clarity. Not because the message is changing, but because it is being presented in ways that are harder to ignore. Life is patient, but it is also persistent. It does not force understanding upon you, but it will continue to present the opportunity for it until you either recognize it or consciously turn away from it. And this is where awareness becomes essential. If you remain unconscious to these patterns, they can feel like cycles of confusion, as though you are moving in circles without progress. But the moment you begin to observe them, not just as repeated events, but as connected signals, something shifts. The repetition no longer feels random. It begins to feel intentional, as if it has been guiding you all along. The purpose of repetition is not to confuse you, but to awaken you. It is not there to trap you in cycles, but to lead you out of them. Each recurrence is an invitation to look deeper, to question what you previously ignored, to see what was once invisible to you. And when you finally acknowledge it, truly see it for what it is, the pattern often dissolves, because its purpose has been fulfilled. So do not dismiss what returns to you. Do not reduce it to coincidence simply because it appears ordinary. There is a quiet intelligence in repetition, a steady rhythm that carries meaning beneath its surface. It is not trying to overwhelm you, it is trying to reach you in the only way that remains when the first whisper goes unheard. And the moment you recognize the pattern, you will understand it was never repeating itself, it was repeating for you. And as these patterns begin to reveal themselves, as the repetition becomes clear and the subtle turns into something you can no longer ignore, a deeper realization starts to form, one that changes the way you interpret every sign you have ever encountered. You begin to see that what you have been searching for was never pointing you outward. It has always been guiding you inward, back to the source from which every perception, every meaning, every experience arises. There is a tendency to believe that the sign is directing you towards something external, an opportunity, a person, a place, a moment in time where everything will finally make sense. And so you follow it with the hope that it will lead you to completion, to certainty, to something that feels solid and unchanging. But what you often discover, if you are attentive enough, is that the sign does not end in the world, it ends in you. It leads you to a realization, a shift in awareness, a deeper recognition of something you already carry within yourself. The external event is only the mirror. The true message is the reflection it reveals. And until that inner recognition takes place, no amount of external confirmation will ever feel complete. You will continue searching, continue questioning, continue waiting for something more, without realizing that what you are waiting for is your own acceptance of what has already been shown to you. This is why the same signs can appear to different people and mean entirely different things. It is not the sign that holds the power, it is the meaning you give to it, the understanding you draw from it, the way it resonates with your inner state. And that resonance does not come from the outside, it comes from the quiet knowing within you that recognizes truth when it is encountered. You may have felt this before, that moment when something simply feels right, not because you can explain it logically, not because it has been proven to you, but because there is a sense of certainty that arises from within. That is the point to which every true sign is leading you, not to evidence, not to validation, but to recognition, a recognition of your own awareness, your own intuition, your own ability to perceive what is real without needing to question it endlessly. But this requires trust. Not in the world, not in the circumstances, but in yourself. And that is often the most difficult part. It is easier to look outward, to seek reassurance, to wait for something undeniable to remove all doubt. But doubt does not dissolve through external proof. It dissolves through inner clarity. And that clarity is not given to you. It is realized by you. So the sign appears, not to give you something new, but to remind you of something you have forgotten. It invites you to stop searching outside and begin listening within. It asks you to recognize that the guidance you seek has always been present, quietly waiting beneath the noise of fear, expectation, and distraction. And when you finally allow yourself to trust that inner knowing, without hesitation, without resistance, you begin to see that every sign, every pattern, every moment of clarity was leading you to the same place all along. Back to yourself, and yet even after all of this, after the awareness, the recognition, the quiet certainty that begins to form within, you arrive at the most important moment of all. Because seeing is not enough. Understanding is not enough. Even the deepest realization, if left unacted upon, remains incomplete. The sign does not come merely to be noticed. It comes to be lived. There is a subtle danger in awareness without movement. You can begin to recognize patterns, to feel guided, to sense that something is unfolding for you, and still remain exactly where you are. You can convince yourself that because you see it, because you understand it, something has already changed. But life does not respond to what you know. It responds to what you embody. The sign is an invitation, not a conclusion. It opens a door, but it does not walk you through it. That step belongs to you, and it is often in that step that hesitation appears. The mind begins to question again. What if I'm wrong? What if I misread it? What if this isn't the moment? And so even after everything becomes clear, you pause, you wait, you look for more confirmation, more reassurance, something that will remove all uncertainty before you move. But that certainty you are waiting for does not come before action, it is revealed through it. The moment you take even the smallest step in alignment with what you have recognized, something shifts, not just externally, but within you. Doubt begins to loosen its hold. Confidence begins to form, not because everything is guaranteed, but because you are no longer standing still. Action does not have to be dramatic. It does not require a complete transformation in a single moment. It can be quiet, almost invisible to anyone else. A decision made differently, a direction chosen with intention, a willingness to follow what feels true, even if you cannot yet see the outcome. These small movements carry a power far greater than endless contemplation. Because when you act, you are no longer observing your life, you are participating in it. You are no longer waiting for change, you are initiating it. And in doing so, you create momentum. What once felt uncertain begins to unfold with a kind of natural progression. One step leads to another, one realization opens the way for the next, and suddenly what once felt distant begins to feel inevitable. This is the purpose of the sign, not to comfort you, not to simply reassure you that something is possible, but to move you into a state where that possibility becomes real through your own participation. It calls you out of passivity and into alignment with the very thing you have recognized within yourself. And you will notice something remarkable when you begin to respond in this way. The signs do not disappear, but they change. They no longer feel like distant signals you are trying to interpret. They become confirmations, reflections of the path you are already walking. Life begins to meet you with the same energy you are expressing. It responds not to your hesitation, but to your willingness. So the moment you recognize the sign, understand this, it is not asking for your approval, it is asking for your response. And that response, no matter how small, is what transforms awareness into reality. Because the sign did not come to guide your thoughts, it came to guide your movement.